Welcome to Spotlight with Shonda Scott, live from Castlemont High School, home of the that's right, home of the Knights. We are here bringing The Color Purple to Castlemont live, Broadway musical, award-winning Broadway musical. Before we had Fela here, we had the Motown the musical, and now we have The Color Purple and their cast. They're actually going to perform for us today and give us a little behind the scenes of the play and who they are in the play and their life story to get us here. So I just wanted to say we're thankful to have you here. We're excited, and we're here live at Castlemont High School. Let's hear from you. So with me is Carrie Compare, who plays Sophia, and then in the play, you're married to Harpo, who is Jay Daughtry. Is that correct? Okay,
yes,
Jay Daughtry, and they're actually married in the play, but I was back here with them talking. I'm like, you guys act like you're married in real life. They play the characters so well that they are like husband and wife, and they're actually gonna tell us a little bit about their storyline and their characters. So, Carrie, you go first and tell us a little bit about Sophia and her character.
Sure. Well, most people, I don't know if you all have seen the movie The Color Purple, but most people readily identify Sophia as Oprah Winfrey, the Oprah Winfrey character from the movie. And that is the character that I play. And she's sort of introduced to the story. Our main character is Celie. And we meet her when she's a young girl. She's pregnant with her second child. Her child has been taken away. And then she's sort of introduced to a whole other level of abuse in her life through an unwanted marriage. And I am getting married to her current husband's son, who is Harpo. And so when I'm introduced, you see me, I'm pregnant, we're in love, we're about to get married. She's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but then abuse is introduced into their relationship, and it sort of all takes a turn from there.
Yep. And I play Harpo, who is the son of Mr., who is Celie's, our main character's new husband. Mm-hmm. And so for me, you just see a young guy, a young boy. I start off in the show as a young boy at like 12 or 13. And throughout the show, you just see these ideologies put on me. And then you also see me make the decision to not be as my father and my grandfather have been towards women. I like to think of myself as the change in the thought processes of men in that generation.
Now I saw the movie, but I love the play. And I'd seen the play before, but when I saw your rendition of it, it was totally different, and it was all the music, and it was beautiful. So even if you've seen it before, you could go see it again and again. It's that great.
I'm gonna take a deep breath, gonna hold my head up, I'm gonna sing out, sing out, like the color purple. Where do it come from? Now my eyes are open. Look what God has done. Like the color purple. Where do it come from? My eyes are open. Look what God has done.
Our director, John Doyle, stripped away all of the theatrical things about the show and made it more of a play with music versus a musical or a spectacle. And so our show is stripped away of all that. You just have chairs, wood planks, actors, and a couple of sheets.
And a Bible.
And a Bible.
But the part about it, it makes you focus in on the music, because you did a great job on the music and the storyline.
Yeah, and I think that was his goal. He was very intentional about that because the story is so strong, and the story and the music together hold so well together on their own that he didn't want to take away from that. And he wanted us to really have to dig deep as actors to be able to present something to the people where they could also use their imagination too. He mentioned that we have chairs. There's a lot of chairs and our chairs become everything in this story. So he was intentional about focus being on story, the lyrics of the songs, these characters, but then also about bringing audience members to a place where they can use their imagination again, where everything isn't so literally spelled out for you.
So let's talk a little bit about your characters and the fact that they do bring in abuse and domestic abuse, and that's a hot topic now that's always been in existence, because this play is decades ago. I mean, the time that it takes place, and now young people are having to deal with domestic violence in their relationships, and then actually you all end up being one of the longest lasting relationships. So how do you think the play deals with the whole domestic violence and abuse issue?
First of all, I'm glad that we don't shy away from it at all, because it is very literally a core piece to the story for several of the characters. When it's introduced into our relationship, we're a little bit older, but we're still young. I think we're still about 18 or 19 years old. The first thing that because he's going to his dad about advice about, she won't do what I tell her to do,
She talked too much.
She talked too much.
She's talking back to her husband.
And, Sophia's a very independent, strong woman. And she has very strong women in her family, and that's how she learned. But, the first thing that his father tells him to do is to beat her. Mm-hmm. That's what you do to a woman, to get her to shut up, to get her to submit or whatever. And I'm not going to talk.
Boy, did Harpo pay for that?
Yeah, he did. He did. And they now come in the book. It's detailed more. Their abusive relationship is over a period of time. In our play, it happens, and she immediately is like, I'm out the door. But I love that she gets to then confront Celie, who also tells him that he needs to beat her, because that's all she knows too. But when she confronts her, she sings a song called Hell No. And it's basically saying that I have a right, not just as a woman, not just as a black woman, but as a human being, not to be abused in any way. You can't touch me. You can't, you can't just do what you want to me. And I have the right to say hell no. I can pack up and leave. And that's exactly what she does. So, and with the whole Me Too movement going on now, it's a sad thing that this is still relevant, but it is very relevant. But I'm glad that we are going across the nation sort of handing this message out as well.
What we as men and in this movement, what we have to understand is that we have to take the onus on ourselves and support the women and make the decision to support them. My character, Harpo, has to make a decision. He's given information. All of the information he was given was wrong. So at some point in the show, you see our relationship change, but there's a moment where Mr. is singing and Harpo walks out and he just stands there. But Mr. is saying, Harpo's happy, what right he got to be happy. But for me in that moment, I'm literally just standing on the stage, but I'm looking up and I'm deciding to be happy, and I'm deciding not to do what they told me to do. I'm going back to get my wife, and I'm going to treat my wife right. So young men and young people in general have to know that they can make a decision, and what they know is not always what is right. You know what I'm saying?
It's like you broke, like they say, generational curse. Yeah. You broke the curse, and you all end up being happy and wanted the solid relationship. And it was about forgiveness, because you had to forgive him at some point because of that. You're watching Spotlight with Shonda Scott, and we will be right back.
Every child needs a mentor, a positive role model. For me, that was my grandmother. For more than 110 years, Big Brothers Big Sisters has been making meaningful monitor matches between adult volunteers and children. And these positive relationships have direct and measurable impacts. Help a child realize his or her potential. Visit bigbrothersbigsisters.org.
Welcome to Spotlight with Shonda Scott, where each week we bring you the best and the brightest, the movers and the shakers, and the hidden gems from all over the Bay. Let us shine a spotlight on your business. Sponsorship opportunities are available. For more information, visit us at spotlightwithshonda.tv.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where the cats go on vacation? New York.
We talked about the Harpo and Sophia. Let's talk about Carrie and Jay and who you are and how you actually are now living out your dreams. So you once were a high school student, fantasizing, dreaming about. Like sometimes you get in these dreams, you're like, I don't think this is ever going to happen. So how did it happen that you're in an award-winning musical, Tony Award-winning musical? This is no higher than that, and performing your dreams.
For me, I grew up in the inner city. I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey. We had a lot of gang violence, and there was a lot going on there. I never, ever, ever thought that this was going to be my life. I wanted to be a lawyer because I had a lot of relatives that were going to jail.
Right.
And I never, even at a young age, I was like, they don't have good representation, so I have to go to law school and be a lawyer. I got to get them out. But in high school, I actually got pregnant. My whole life changed. And I was like, I decided that I wasn't gonna be a statistic. I decided that I was gonna do my absolute best to get, to make a life that was good for me and my child, however that wound up. And later on, after working, and I went to college for about a year. I had to drop out because my husband and I now had 2 children. We had a family, we had bills, we had things that we had to, real life stuff that we had to take care of. And we had relocated, and the new place that I was in, I got involved in community theater and fell in love with it. My husband came and saw me in a show, and he was just like, babe, you're good. Like, you should maybe check this out. And just on faith, I got on a plane, flew back to New Jersey, stayed with my mother-in-law, and was going back and forth to New York for about a year. And in that year, I got a manager, I got an agent. There was a lot of hustling going on. And then I came back home. My mother had passed, so I had to bury her and I go through all of that. And then my husband and I said, we're just gonna go back to the East Coast. We're gonna get settled and get back in and really, put our feet to the ground in this. And maybe 3 months after we decided to move back was when I got my first national tour. It was my first equity tour. I saw that paycheck and I was like, what? This is possible?
I can do this.
Yeah, so I toured for 14 months around the country. I flew to London. I mean, it was amazing. It was a life that I never even, it was not on my radar at all. And then after I did that, I was like, oh, well, I know when I get off this tour, I'm gonna book everything. I'm gonna have it all. No. I went to auditions and they were like, nope, nope, nope. I was like, but I was dragging in Shrek and I sang and I recorded and no, you still got to get out there and hustle. But over the course of about 7 years now, I've been in the business. I've done 2 Broadway shows, 14 commercials, 2 television shows.
Well,
now I'm doing this
it.
national tour. So it's a blessing, and my family's super supportive. I have 2 children, a 19-year-old almost, and a 16-year-old, and still married. So yeah.
Great. And what's your story?
Well, I am from the country.
What part?
I'm from Bartow, Florida.
Okay.
I grew up in a very church kind of world, and I went to school at Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida. I graduated, and after that, I moved to D.C. to be a banker. And I was a banker for 5 years until the banks crashed. And when the banks crashed, I had to figure out something to do, and I knew I had this singing thing that I could do. So I taught for a year at a Christian school in Clinton, Maryland. And I taught for a year, but while I was teaching, I was catching a bus going to New York to try to see if I can do this singing thing in any capacity, whether that be on Broadway or just singing. And so I did that for maybe a good year. And the first thing I booked was Motown the musical. And then after Motown was Beautiful the musical on Broadway, and then Color Purple on Broadway. And now we're here.
Now, who were you in Motown musical? What character?
I was a couple of characters. I was a Berry Gordy understudy, what's the man's name? Dennis Edwards. I was all of them. Like
right.
Yeah, Dennis Edwards, Stevie Wonder, understudy, everybody,
Oh, you
all the
played
characters.
all of them.
Yeah.
Great.
Martin Luther King one
Those are
day.
great stories to have. You didn't even see it, and it actually manifested. You were on a different path.
Welcome to Spotlight with Shonda Scott, where each week we bring you the best and the brightest, the movers and the shakers, and the hidden gems from all over the Bay. Let us shine a spotlight on your business. Sponsorship opportunities are available. For more information, visit us at spotlightwithshonda.tv. You are watching Spotlight with Shonda Scott. If you missed an episode or want to see exclusive behind-the-scenes footage, go to our YouTube channel and join by clicking the subscribe button.
Hey, what's up? It's Antoine Davis, and you're on Spotlight with Shonda Scott. Stay tuned in. She'll have more to come.
Stay linked in with us as you follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember, #Spotlight with Shonda.
You're also going to perform for us one of the songs.
So the name of the song is called Any Little Thing. Now we talked about how Harpo and Sophia separated because there was abuse, and this is kind of their reconciliation song. This is them coming.
We get back together.
Yeah, it's a little risque. It's a little.
Yeah.
I fed the chickens and I chopped the wood, and then I pulled up the peaches like you said I should. I mended the fences and painted them too. Now is there anything I can do for you?
I milled 12 heifers by the early morning, then I shucked about 100 ears of corn. I scrubbed out your britches till they look brand new. Now is there anything that I can do for you?
Any little thing you might want me to.
All right, baby, don't hurt me.
You know you like it.
I rub magnolia petals on my skin.
I cut my toenails, shave my chin.
I turned out the lights.
I pour the brew.
Now is there anything else I can do for you?
Any little thing you might want me to. Ooh, yeah.
Any little thing.
Any little thing. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Any little thing.
Any little
Put
thing.
the big legs all up on me, baby.
I'm coming, baby, coming, baby. Yeah. I'd like to ride you, baby. Yes, honey. Wait a minute, it's kids in the audience. Get your mic. Fix yourself. Oh, girl. Now, get together. But you've been working out, though.
Yeah, baby, you like that?
I like it, Daddy.
All right, baby.
You ready?
Now is there anything else I can do for you? Any little thing you might want me to. Oh, any little thing you might want me to. All right, baby, come on now.
All right.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed our world.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Welcome to Spotlight with Shonda Scott, where each week we bring you the best and the brightest, the movers and the shakers, and the hidden gems from all over the Bay. Let us shine a spotlight on your business. Sponsorship opportunities are available. For more information, visit us at spotlightwithshonda.tv.
So we also have some questions that we're going to take from our audience because we have a live audience here. We want to hear from the students because you all can give them some gold nuggets and some lessons learned for their lives.
How long have you guys been acting?
For me, it's been since 2010, so 8 years.
And for me, it has been since 2011.
Did you take classes? How did you get so
Well,
trained on theater?
I went to an art school, high school. It was an art school. In my first year of college, I was a vocal performance major. But after the first year, I went to business administration with concentration in marketing. So I had lessons, I had classes in high school and my first year of college. But after that, it was...
So my question is, what's your reason for performing The Color Purple, and what do you expect your audience to get out of it?
My reason for performing, well, when I had the opportunity to audition, of course I was very familiar with the book and the movie, so who doesn't want to be a part of that? But when I auditioned for it, I knew I really wanted it because I was really, at the same time I was auditioning for Color Purple, I was auditioning for 6 other shows. And all of these shows, they give you what you call sides, which are portions of the script that you have to read and things like that. And then you also have songs, if it's a musical, that you have to learn. But I was so committed to being a part of Color Purple. I knew I wanted it because that was at the forefront of my mind the entire time.
This show is so powerful because there's so many messages in the show, which is why I almost feel like it's ministry that's happening on the stage, because we are telling so many stories and so many people are being touched in so many different ways. Of course, like I was about to call you Sophia, like Carrie said, of course you want to be a part of this legacy. This show, the musical, the play, the movie, the book is all so ingrained in our culture that The Color Purple, of course you want to be in that, you know what I mean? But just being able to see the change that is happening in people's lives from what we're doing on that stage and the story that we're telling, and we're unapologetically ourselves in telling it, you know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to go outside of what this culture is or what this story is meant to tell, or the people that are telling this story. We are unapologetically black.
How was it performing on Broadway?
For me, it was great. Of course, being a part of The Color Purple, you get to meet a lot of Color Purple people, like Oprah Winfrey came through, the original Suge, Margaret Avery, who's still beautiful, came through. Steven Spielberg came to the show. We were able to meet so many fabulous, famous people, and we're just like, oh, you came to see us? But the fact that they came and they really loved the work that we were doing on Broadway, and to be somebody who is from a community where this isn't, you know, I didn't grow up around the arts like that, and this wasn't something that was really encouraged for me. I lived 45 minutes from New York City and had never really been there, you know. So for me, it was definitely one of those things where it's just like, I can't believe this is happening, this is real. I knew God was real, because it really became a life-changing experience for me.
Now, are you nervous when you're up there? The first time you get up there, are you nervous at all?
I'm nervous every time. I tell people that and they don't believe me.
I have to shake myself out. Like, I have to, okay, let's just go do this. You know, like, I have to get to a place, but I don't really, I used to get cramps and things, but now I don't have that. But I still have to.
Glad you don't have cramps.
Yeah. It keeps you humble to stay nervous.
Yeah. And there's a lot, and backstage I do a lot of stretching and like making sure everything is right. And as long as I know this body is not going, I'll get out there.
Yeah, because he got some heavy lifting.
And I don't know if you noticed, but I lift a few girls in this show.
Yeah,
like lifting them and throwing them. So I just have to get in the zone and like I'm going to play baseball or something.
You're so strong.
You know, I go to the gym. I work out.
any words of inspiration that you have for our students? Like when you were that person, what would you be telling yourself now that you know and you've learned your life lessons and you're still growing? What would you tell our students today that are sitting in the audience? Some aspiring to be in your seat and others like not and may end up there.
Yeah. Our lives are truly made up of our choices, and what you decide, what decisions you make is what you will see in your life. So if you decide to do something wrong, then you'll see the result of that wrong in your life. If you decide to do something good, then you will receive the result of that good in your life. And so I took that personally when I had to make the decision of what to do after the banks crashed. I had to start making some decisions that would bring me the life that I wanted to see. And so I say that to anybody, grown, young, old, on your way out of here, just got here. Your life is truly made up of the choices that you make.
Yeah, I was gonna say kind of the same thing. Like you reap what you sow. Because we're married. What you put into yourself, the work that you put in, is what you're gonna be able to harvest later on. I grew up with people in school who are doing all kinds of things right now. Some of them are very successful. Some of them are not so successful. I just heard about a friend of mine from high school that passed away, and he was just homeless on the street. He was a drug addict, and and he was a very successful athlete in school, but nobody cared about that once he left. So when his popularity didn't mean anything once he graduated from high school, what meant something was the work and the choices that he made in his life. So make good choices for yourself, and believe that you can do anything, because we're a pretty strong people. We can do whatever we put our minds to, good or bad. Good or bad.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
And where you are right now is not where you will always be, and that's something that people, we get so focused on what's happening right now that we think that this is all that there is, but really there isn't. And when Carrie says you can do anything, there literally is no limit to what you can do. But it goes back to those choices. It goes back to what you're reaping. In order to get the result, in order to receive the harvest, you have to do the right thing or put the seed in the ground, the right seed, to get the right harvest.
We thank you for coming out and blessing our children
Thank you so
with
much.
your history and experience and your talent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.